So my final is on the impact of music and its cultural significance. So we'll start with the introduction. Hello, my name is Jesus Andrade, and today's video essay topic is on the impact of music and its cultural significance. To explore this idea, we need to break it down a little bit further. Many individuals like to dumb it down by explaining that music influences culture and then therefore culture influences music. They make it seem like it's just some sort of little equation. While that idea is technically true, it's missing key components of music itself and how music actually ties to culture rather than just being a little byproduct of it. In this video essay, I will discuss a few of these key components. So first, we're going to go over what music is, or what is music. Classifying something as music seems easy enough, and it kind of is, only it has more layers to it. According to study.com, quote, music consists of sounds blended into a form of creative expression. In understanding the definition of music, it is essential to recognize that music is an art and a cultural expression, unquote. The last part in that quote is what I believe is the most important part. That, quote, music is an art and a cultural expression, unquote. As with any good art comes the influences for said art. One of these influences is the artists themselves and how they're affected by the culture around them. So we're going to now lead to that, how music has been influenced by the personal experiences of the artists. One great example of an artist whose art is influenced by their culture would be Tupac Shakur. While Tupac Shakur was labeled a gangster rapper and violent by many, he also had songs that were very retrospective. In his song Brenda's Got a Baby, which was very unfortunately based on a true story, Tupac discusses a story about Brenda, who was a woman who had a baby, and in his lyrics he speaks about how it will affect the community, right? Not just the family themselves. Brenda is very young, and in the lyrics it discusses this. One of the lyrics says, Brenda got herself a boyfriend. Her boyfriend was her cousin. Now let's watch the joy end. So it was based on something Tupac read in a newspaper. And this song actually reached the Billboard's top 11 and basically not kickstarted Tupac's career, but it kind of elevated it to new heights. And it elevated rap in a way too, because rap was always believed to be, this gangster influenced genre, right? And it is in a way, admittedly, but Tupac kind of got introspective and he wanted to make songs about the struggles of the ghetto and stuff like that, right? And it was very unfortunate that it had to be based on personal experiences. He has many other songs based off of his life, such as Dear Mama, a very popular one, which speaks about the treatment of his mother as well as a bit of her drug use. In one line of this song, he discusses how he can always trust his mother, which reads, when I was sick as a little kid, to keep me happy, there's no limit to the things you did, and all my childhood memories are full of all the sweet things you did for me. So, Tupac is one artist who uses his songs that are very fluid with his background, right? There's entire other pieces to his music that rely on his cultural background, right? But there's entire genres almost that rely on the background of the music. Even just specific songs. Diss tracks is one of these, right? So they stem from just little arguments between the artists or full-on beefs. For example, Tupac's Hit 'Em Up, and then other diss tracks that Biggie sent after him and stuff like that. That's a whole diss track battle, right? But it is a thing now where individuals in the street or gangsters will use them as a way to attack each other, right? And they don't even really need to be based in rap either. According to USA Today, quote, bassist Jesse Lacey left Taking Back Sunday, that's their band, in which he found out that frontman John Nolan had hooked up with his girlfriend, according to Far Out magazine. Lacey created Brand New and wrote a song 70 times 7, directly referencing the incident and wishing death upon Nolan in multiple ways. Taking Back Sunday responded in their debut album with the song There's No I in Team, unquote. So that was a lot to unpack, but basically it's all of these tracks were influenced based on their own personal experiences. But outside of the more dark and dangerous examples, they're, like I previously said, genres. Romantic music, pop music. Taylor Swift is an example of this. No matter if you like her or hate her, she has this niche down. She uses her personal experiences to create poppy love songs that generate a lot of radio play. One song in particular called Teardrops on My Guitar is apparently about a classmate Taylor used to like named Drew. And if you read the lyrics, it's very apparent that's what it's about. She has a lot of songs about her love life as well that are very apparent. So now let's focus on how music has influenced culture rather than culture influencing music. So, despite Taylor's often romantic side, Tupac's harsh, gritty lyrics, they do have one thing in common, that their music ushered in new music composition for like an entire generation. Many musicians followed in their footsteps, and then many other musicians followed in their footsteps of them. Their words have just influenced music as a whole, but also culture, right? So Tupac spoke a lot about civil rights and how certain events affected his community. But even before him, other artists had the same idea, leaning into it a lot more. Marvin Gaye, a very popular artist, was one of them, releasing a song called What's Going On that spoke upon many issues happening in the country at the time. In this song, Marvin Gaye discusses many different topics, but mostly the mistreatment of others and like the sort of unjustment between different groups of individuals. In one lyric of the song, Marvin Gaye sings, quote, "Oh, but who are they to judge us simply 'cause our hair is long," unquote. The song What's Going On became a smash hit and is now a song that is, even to this day, still used to protest civil unrest, right? It may be an older piece of music, but it has influenced culture as a whole. The structure of the music is automatically associated with this ideal as well, standing up for what is going on in the world. And then this kind of leads nicely into the next topic, sort of how music affects our brain chemistry. So with like how music is built, it affects how our brain sort of reacts to it, right? So depending on the type of music being played, there are effects on them. So some individuals have noticed that upbeat music makes them happier, or lower tone music makes them feel a little bit more hype, things like that. Some people truly believe that rap is just promoting very violent actions, drugs, sex, and violence. That debate has been going on forever. There's also proof that if in Alzheimer's patients, if you play their favorite song, they can actually remember it for a little bit, and then there's some action in their brain. A study from UCF.edu agrees, reading that, quote, in recent studies, they found that people with dementia respond better to the music they grew up listening to. So, if you play someone's favorite music, different parts of their brain light up. Sugya explains. That means memories associated with music are emotional memories, which never fade out, even in Alzheimer's patients, unquote. Music doesn't just affect culture, but it can also affect our brains as well. So, music can be a great motivator or a tool, even if used properly, for protests, etc. Even one term coined used by the metal band Disturbed was music as a weapon, and it has been proven to be poised as such. With all the incredible info and use of music in the past, as well as now, it's imperative that music is held in such a high regard. And this will lead us to our next point, which is why music is so important to the world and to the artists themselves. So, music as a whole is an incredible cultural phenomenon. Without the artistry and the freedom that the artists have, the culture around us could be changed forever. They won't have the freedom to write what they want based on their experiences, and that won't allow people to connect with it as much. A lot of people connected with a lot of the older gangster rappers, more introspective, conscious music because they could relate to it, right? They were in tough situations and connected to those lyrics, unfortunately. Um, and same with romantic songs as well. That's easier to connect to, right? People love each other, so if you hear songs about love, you'll be like, oh, that reminds me of my love interest, right? So music itself is an art form, one that can be heard and is, generally more accessible compared to paintings and such. It's a lot more simple to digest, or can be simpler to digest. With so many artists in the world, change is just bound to happen. As a collective, we should allow music to continue changing cultural norms and shape our society. Labels and record executives attempt to just try to make everything marketable, make as much money as possible, but that won't advance the cultural movement with art and music. So if you as an individual stand up to these record executives and labels by maybe listening to more indie artists or listening to what you like rather than just the marketable music, things could make a turn for the best.